The Indiana Hoosiers have a tough test ahead of them, coming off of a 63 win over the Illinois Fighting Illini. Indiana this Saturday is to travel to Kinnick Stadium to play the Iowa Hawkeyes, who have an extra day of rest after beating Rutgers 38-28 on Friday night Big Ten football last week. I have picked Indiana to win this game, and quite convincingly, and I wanted to go a little bit deeper into that by giving you 10 reasons why Indiana should beat Iowa. There will be a video coming out later today, a very brief one talking about Iowa's path to pull off the upset, but for 10 reasons why detailed in this video, I think that an upset by Iowa here is unlikely. Before we get into these 10 reasons, please make sure that you are subscribed to College Football with Sam, that you have liked the video, and if you have the time, watch it all the way through so you can get all of my analysis. Watching all the way through also helps me in the algorithm. Same with liking the video. Comment your thoughts and analysis down below so I can read the replies and comments and reply to them. And also hit the notification bell, not just for the channel, but the Indiana and Illinois football, or the Indiana and Iowa, football playlists that are attached to the video or that you can find on the playlist section of my channel. But let's get to it and discuss 10 reasons why Indiana should beat Iowa. Reason number 1 is that Indiana has a superior staff. So Indiana has a far better staff than Iowa in just a general sense, but that goes down to head coach, that goes down to coordinators. If you see something black to, well, your left, but to my right, that's my cat, Jack. He's joining us for whatever reason, and he's deciding to bite me. But Indiana has a superior staff, better head coach. They have a much better offensive coordinator, I think, even though I respect Tim Lester. And Bryant Haynes is making a name for himself. I think Indiana has a wonderful defense, wonderful offense. I love Phil Parker as a defensive coordinator. You know my thoughts on him. I think he's a top 2 defensive coordinator with only Jim Knowles in front of him. But Indiana's staff is just quite better. Ferentz has done a good job in the past of punching above his weight class. Cignetti right now is doing such a better job punching above his weight class with the talent he has than Ferentz. And Indiana's offense is light years ahead of Iowa's for a variety of reasons. Number 2, trench advantage. Iowa beats you through being more fundamentally sound than you, winning the turnover battle, winning the special teams battle, playing good defense, but then handing you your rear in the trenches and punching you and taking your lunch money. That's going to be very challenging for Iowa to do to this Indiana team. Indiana has a plus 1.8% havoc margin on offense. Really should be minus, because the fewer havoc plays you allow on offense, the better. But still, they have an edge in havoc rate in a positive way from their offense as opposed to Iowa's. And Iowa's offense is actually one of the best in the nation at preventing havoc plays. And havoc plays are TFLs, sacks, turnovers, passes defended, things that set the offense very behind the sticks. Indiana does a good job of limiting those plays too, even better than Iowa does, and they're much better on defense at generating those plays. Reason number 3 why Indiana should win this game is they have the superior roster. So they are number 1 in success rate margin, and they are rated inside the top 10 of ESPN's FPI. And many other power ratings have them top 15, borderline top 10. Some have them top 10. If you really, really, really only want to look at this year and don't include any priors and disregard talent, which this early especially is foolish, but be my guest, you may be onto something here. Indiana could even be top 5. Very early again, I want to see it before I fully buy into that idea. But Indiana last year was the exception to the rule in a lot of things, and they were able to show that they could sustainably win even with the pieces they had. So a lot of teams that had more talent than Indiana in the past, they would not win in the same dominant fashion. Typically, teams that are flukish will win a bunch of close games. 2022 TCU, 2023 Washington, 2021 Michigan State. Indiana last year blew everyone out. They only had one close game all year. That was against Michigan, which they won. So they were 1-0 in close games. This year, they haven't played in a close game yet. So what they are doing is sustainable. It's time that we look at this roster for what it is. Is it the best roster in the country? We'll have to see. Indiana fans will probably tell you even themselves it's probably not that, but it is so much better than the talent suggests. It's much better than Iowa's roster. Reason number 4 is Fernando Mendoza. So Mendoza's completing 76.8% of his passes. He's averaging 9.8 yards per attempt for 14 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he's 11th in QBR with an 84.4 QBR. He has been wickedly efficient. And after a week 1 and a little bit of week 2 where he had some sketchy throws and a rusty start, he's really come into himself. Against Indiana State, he was incredible. And then against Illinois, that was his best game of the year. Easily. Best game of the year. So I think that Iowa's defense, how they get you is they force you to make mistakes. They turn you over. And they bait you, and they wait for you to mess up. Mendoza hasn't messed up all that much. So I think that for Iowa's defense, it's going to be a long day trying to force Mendoza to make mistakes. Well, he could casually carve them up. Reason number 5 is Indiana's elite defense. Hinted at this a little earlier, but when you are 4th in defensive efficiency per FPI, and you are 16th in adjusted expected points added per play on defense, like what you allow your opponents to do in EPA, you're pretty darn good, especially when Indiana's already played a decent, good G5, G6 team in Old Dominion, and they played a Power 4 team in Illinois. Not all of the great teams have played that level of competition. Is it fantastic? No, but Oregon and Penn State have only played scrubs, for example. Indiana has played more than that in facing Illinois, and Old Dominion's probably better than most of the non-conference foes that Penn State and Oregon, say, have played. Their defense is maybe elite is premature, but after what I saw last year, which that unit was statistically elite, and in actuality was at least a great near-elite unit, and this unit returned much of last year's highly productive players, I'm ready to say that this Indiana defense is probably going to take that next step and be what those Iowa defenses in 2022 and 2023 were, where those were elite units, even though they did play bad competition, especially the 2022 unit. They played Ohio State, they played Michigan, really good teams. They gave those offenses issues. If those defenses just had an average offense, Iowa could have been a potential playoff contender with some of those schedules and just having enough marquee games to where if they win one of those, it's a quality win. Reason number 6 is Indiana's wide receivers, Elijah Sarratt and Omar Cooper Jr. They just have a level of athleticism, awareness, hands on the football, speed, route running, discipline to where I think that they will give these Iowa defenders, backfielders issues. I think that, Deshaun Lee and TJ Hall and Xavier Nwapka, Cohen Entringer, I think that Iowa's DBs have actually not dropped off that much from where they were last year. The linebackers have dropped off, but I think that Phil Parker and Iowa once again have done a good job reloading on defense after being a little bit disappointing last year and then losing much of that production. But I think these receivers are going to give them issues because they've been developed well. They have a lot of proven production. E.J. Williams is coming into the fold, and he was highly recruited to Clemson in the 2020 class. Older guy, pretty long, able-bodied. I think that Indiana is going to have multiple options in this game to get the ball to, same as they did against Illinois, and that's going to be very hard for this Iowa defense to control. Reason number 7 is a pass rush that has 15 sacks in 4 games and that generates almost 1 out of every 4 of their opponent's plays to result in a havoc play, which again, interception, fumble, just a turnover of some kind, a tackle for loss, a sack, a pass defended, a play that results in no gain. That is crazy. The pass rush that Indiana has with Mikail Kamara, Isaiah Jones, Aiden Fisher, Tyrique Tucker, Mario Landino, Stephen Daly, Kellen Wyatt is unreal. Unreal stuff that this Indiana team is doing on the defensive side of the ball and in the trenches overall. Reason number 8 is their fundamental soundness. So I think Iowa actually leads the nation right now in penalties per game. No, they trail Army. my apologies, but in the Power 4 they lead. They're second. They only have 2.3 penalties per game. Indiana is tied with Houston, UMass, Penn State, and Iowa State for only having 3 penalties per game. That's fourth. They are extremely disciplined. They don't turn over the football much. They don't beat themselves in the same way that Iowa doesn't. And that's one of the ways Iowa beats you. So this really helps Indiana's case to not get beaten by Iowa and to potentially overwhelm the Hawkeyes in their own place, as Indiana doesn't really have the flaws that Iowa best exploits. Reason number 9 is special teams. Another instance here. Indiana's special teams match Iowa's. I mean, they had a blocked punt against Illinois. They nearly blocked another, if not for a holding call. They've made their field goals. Jonathan Brady has a punt return for a touchdown. They're good at returns. This special teams unit is night and day different from last year's Hoosiers special teams unit. It's very superior, and it will help them win games down the stretch. Could be very useful even in some of the bigger games where Indiana's special teams unit last year really face-planted. It's just another additive on an already great team. And reason number 10 is Iowa's roster. It's not built to exploit the weaknesses that Indiana under Cignetti has shown that it has. Typically, the biggest weakness is Indiana's limitations in regards to talent, and therefore they can't scale. We'll see if that continues this year. There have been teams in college football historically who are kind of exceptions to that rule, who don't, in theory, have the talent required to win it all or to win several big games, and yet they do. So Cam Newton's Auburn is a prime example of this. I think a lot of Chris Peterson, Boise State teams were examples of this. Some of the Chip Kelly and Mark Helfrich Oregon teams were similar in this regard. I have a feeling that Indiana this year could be that, and they could be a national title contender. We'll see, though. Regardless of if they are or if they are not, Iowa does not have the necessary roster to, in my opinion, exploit these issues. And even if it's not my opinion, based on the first, 17 games of the Curt Cignetti era, in their only 2 losses, it's been to Ohio State and Notre Dame, who had overwhelmingly more talent and who had much more skill position talent and speed than this Iowa team does. So that's reason number 10. Thank you all so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment your thoughts down below. I appreciate you guys so much for the support. Can't wait for week 5 of college football, and I'll see you guys around very soon with reactions to games.